Here are 40 things you should know about my game Will You Snail before you play it. I want to make sure you know exactly what you're getting yourself into. Minor spoiler warning, of course, because I'm showing you all the basics of the game. Number 1, Will You Snail is a unique platformer where an evil AI predicts your movement. Wherever the AI thinks you will go, it'll spawn a trap to intercept you. In the game, you dodge AI-spawned traps, solve simple puzzles, uncover the secrets of the simulation. Oh, and endure the AI making fun of you when you mess up, of course.
Did a cat walk over your input device?
You control a cute little snail called Shelly, and the evil AI is called Squid. I recorded over 1000 voice lines for Squid, which makes sure he can comment on a lot of different scenarios.
What the heck? I really can't reach you like that?
Therefore, even though Will You Snail is a pure single-player game, it doesn't really feel like you're playing it alone. The AI predictions are used to control all kinds of traps and enemies in the game, from spikes to jellyfish to projectiles to laser beams. All are spawned and moved depending on where the AI thinks you will go. Every now and then there are some enemies that don't do that, but that's more the exception than the rule. The game is relatively short. Your first playthrough will likely take somewhere between 4 and 6 hours. If you want to keep playing after that, that's certainly possible though, with achievements, collectibles, secrets, replaying levels on higher difficulties and so on. Some of my playtesters have already sunken hundreds of hours into this game. It has an okay amount of replay value, I'd say. The game releases Wednesday, March 9th, 2022, which at the point of uploading this is in a few days. If you're watching this video after March 9th, then lucky you, because that means the game is already out on Steam, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation and Xbox. At the launch, we're currently aiming for a price tag of $14.99 USD or €12.49 euros. Just keep in mind that this is not a guarantee that the price will stay like that forever, of course. You only need 3 buttons to play the game, left, right and jump. There are no special movement abilities besides that. It's pure platforming. Even though the game's short, there's a ton of variety in the game. From shooter levels to racing levels to tower defense levels to basketball levels. It's basically a lot of interesting ideas packed into a short but hopefully fun single player experience. The story in Will You Snail is mostly told using these dialogue files here, so there is a little bit of reading involved, but no worries, it's not too much. Will You Snail is meant to be fairly difficult, but due to the difficulty settings and assist features, pretty much everybody will still finish it in less than 6 hours or so. That being said, you'll certainly enjoy this game a lot more if you like difficult platforming stuff. Will You Snail is not a game for everybody. I really like this honest marketing approach, which is why on the Steam page I have this little test you can do to figure out if I think you'd like the game or not. At launch, the game texts and subtitles will probably be available on all of these languages here. We're still constantly working on adding more text languages though, and if you'd like to help with that, you're more than welcome to join the translator team on the Will You Snail Discord group. Even though I technically made this game alone, that's not really true. I want to give a big thank you to the huge amount of community translators and playtesters, to my moderators on Discord, and of course to all of you for supporting the project. Thank you, thank you. The only audio language available at launch will be English, but if you want to help with voice acting Squid in more languages, you can literally do that without even asking my permission. I provided some basic tools and a guide on how you can add your own text and audio languages to the game. If you make anything good, I'm more than happy to license it from you and put it into the official version of the game. So hopefully we'll have a French Squid or Italian Squid at some point. Who knows? I spent 4 years on making this game. It started out as a silly little side project and slowly escalated further and further into what it is now. If you're interested in how that happened, I documented the entire journey of making this game on my YouTube channel. The game is not flawless by any means. There are some problems and missing features I'm well aware of. For example, the frame rate is locked at 60, there is no super widescreen support, and there's no key rebinding option. Honestly, the reason I thought key rebinding was not super necessary is that you only need 3 buttons to play the game, and I added a ton of alternative buttons you can use. You can play with the arrow keys, WASD, T, F, G, H. I personally don't see these points as huge problems, but maybe you do, which is why I want to be very upfront about it. Another thing that seems to disappoint some of the people I talk to is that there is no machine learning involved in the AI. It's just a very typical hard-coded game AI following simple predefined rules. The way the AI works is very simple. I just simulate a second of the snail's movement, see where it ends up, and then reset it back to its original position. For the player it looks like nothing happened, but under the hood I now know where the snail will end up if it keeps moving in that direction. The reason Squid sometimes calls you snail and sometimes human is because he knows the snail is controlled by a human. Squid can only say each voice line once, which causes him to run out of voice lines eventually. I decided on this design philosophy early on cause I really hate AI characters that keep repeating themselves. Squid doesn't do that. Instead, he just shuts up when he runs out of things to say. The way I came up with the idea for the game is I wanted to make a rage game that was as annoying as humanly possible. And yeah, the AI predictions, that was by far the most annoying thing I could possibly come up with. So I was really surprised when I figured out that people actually enjoyed it. There are 4 difficulty settings. They're called easy, very easy, extremely easy, and infinitely easy. So easy is actually the hardest difficulty in my game. And now I get to say, I bet you can't beat my game on easy. There are automatic difficulty adjustments in the game, so if you're too lazy to bother, Squid does a pretty good job at adjusting the difficulty for you. If you're a professional gamer, then feel free to turn that feature off, of course. Some people find the font of the game difficult to read, so I'm happy to report that most languages come with an alternative font you can swap to in the menu. The game comes with 3 color schemes, and I definitely recommend you try out which one you like best, because opinions on that seem to differ quite a lot. Great news! You can even make your very own custom color schemes. I made a guide for that on Steam that you should definitely check out if you're interested. If you want a green squid or a golden shelly, feel free to make that happen. Same thing here. If you make a very cool color scheme, I'll happily license it from you and put it into the official version of the game. I'm really all for allowing you to mess around with my creations. That's why I published the MIDI files and the stems for all tracks of the soundtrack on itch, so you can go wild with remixing as soon as the game's out. The soundtrack has 25 tracks. I made it myself, and it will come to all streaming platforms, including Spotify, Apple Music, and of course to this YouTube channel. The game engine I used to make Will You Snail is GameMaker Studio 2. I love Unity as well, but in this case I just used GameMaker. Can your potato PC run the game? Usually yes, but make sure to check out the system requirements before downloading the game. Usually, as long as you have any kind of dedicated graphics card, you should be 100% fine. The game was ported to consoles by a Polish studio called No Gravity Games. I really loved playing it on the Switch. It's such a great fit for that platform. The game already runs perfectly well on Linux using Photon, but if I'll make a native build for Linux and Mac remains to be seen. My main concern with that is always that it'll be tricky for me to offer proper tech support for those platforms. There's a photo epilepsy warning at the beginning of the game. I think it's probably a bit overly cautious, but it's better to be safe than sorry, so if you struggle with that sort of stuff, please don't play the game. I don't have any super concrete plans for what I'll do with the game in the future. Will there be any updates? Well, language updates, new color schemes, bug fixes, and some more polishing stuff will definitely happen. Other than that, it remains to be seen, I guess. Depends a lot on how the initial launch goes. You should totally join the Will You Snail Discord with the link in the description to stay in the loop with development news and community events, meme competitions, speedrunning, game nights. The best way you can support me on launch is to play the game, leave a review, and tell your friends about it. That's it. I hope you enjoy the game.